here in Cleveland, the corner of Keith Street and Stewart Road. Call Jamie Kyle, 423-381-3429.
Senator Adam Lowe joins us. And, Senator, I wanted to get an update on what's been happening in the first week, I believe the first week of the session last week. But then also, just now, I don't know if you heard Dr. Elliott on with us. And, look, the Education Freedom Act is public schools, obviously, around the state are coming out against this. I'm going to be joined by the governor later at noon today to talk about this. What is your take on this, and what are you hearing in the halls of Nashville?
Well, first, let me say I was with my friend George Gray out of town celebrating our birthdays this weekend when we got the news about Dwayne, and I just an opportunity to say what an amazing man. Yeah. He worked closely with us when I had Man Up America, which was on one of your radio networks, and it wouldn't have happened without him. Always just a pleasure to work with and be around, and he's going to be missed. So just my condolences to your team and to the station on losing such a valuable person, and he'll be remembered, I think, very, very strongly and fondly in this community. The governor has called a special session next week, and we are taking up 3 issues in that special session, and ironically, all 3 of them will pass through the committees that I'm on and co-chair. One of those issues, we'll kind of get the ones out of the way that are less controversial. But I would like to say, even though it's 3 issues in the special call, they're not tied to one another. They kind of move alongside one another through the committee process, and they were called for very different reasons. So the big one's disaster aid to Northeast Tennessee, and some of that's just timeliness. Things we have to do at the state level to make sure our cooperation with the federal government and FEMA and getting reimbursed for that disaster takes place accordingly. So it behooves us to go ahead and knock that out in a special session. The second issue is illegal immigration, and some of that is because of the administration change and some of the information that we've gotten from the Trump administration at the federal level that says we need to get some of our ducks in a row with policies in Tennessee should the environment around how we report, track, monitor, and even cooperate with federal authorities when it comes to illegal immigration in the state of Tennessee. Anybody who was watching the State of the Union saw Trump label the cartels as terrorist organizations. That is a very significant executive order. It's not arbitrary. It's not just a label. It changes how we pursue those folks, what happens in Tennessee with those gangs that are affiliated, and with fentanyl in our state. So we're going to use some of that time in special session to button up some policies around illegal immigration. So the Education Freedom Act, which has been a year-long conversation. I've had several town halls in the district. We have polled extensively. We've talked to family and friends. And like you said, there has been kind of a groundswell of school boards coming out against it. And then recently, Bradley County Commission also passed a resolution saying that they were against it as well. You know, this is sensitive because Politics 101 says, you know, I'm supposed to come on here and praise all of my colleagues in local government and in the school boards, and I will. It's a tough task. It really is. And they do a great job of advocating for the folks that they represent. But at some point in the process in Nashville, somebody has to represent the parents. Everybody has a lobby. The school directors have a lobby in Nashville, TOSS. The School Board Association lobbies in Nashville. The NEA, the National Education Union, it lobbies in Nashville. The Tennessee Teachers Union lobbies in Nashville. And the ACLU has driven every narrative against school choice in Tennessee from day one. In fact, I can show you the ACLU email, and it almost reads like every resolution we get from every school board. So my grandfather used to say, you're known by the company you keep. And so if you want to ask me who's fighting school choice in Tennessee, who's fighting the Opportunity Scholarship, who's giving people the word vouchers and giving them the toxic language of it's going to hurt our public schools, I'm going to tell you it starts at the top with the ACLU and the teachers union at the national level. And they don't have to come and lobby our local communities. They go directly to those state lobbying organizations, the School Board Association, the Director of Schools Association, and there's so much pressure on our local educators and officials. Even the county commission has their association. But you know who doesn't have an association in Nashville? Parents. They don't. So I've always positioned myself, because I believe parents are the most capable of making educational decisions for their kids. And this scholarship, and it really is, it works like the Hope Scholarship. It is not a voucher. That is a distinctive word. That is the process of handing a family money or a check, the equivalent of their. We're not handing any parents any checks. It is a scholarship like Hope works. In fact, the growth of this is proposed to be used out of lottery money. You've heard people say our tax dollars. Well, in case you're buying lottery tickets, the growth of this won't even be on your tax dollars. This is an opportunity scholarship. The people who are fighting it are the same folks who are just always wrong about everything. If we listen to resolutions on behalf of the School Board Association, we'd have an income tax in Tennessee. In 1999, they were the largest proponent of a state income tax, the Tennessee School Board Association. In fact, if we listen to just the local resolutions, we'd have a wheel tax in Bradley County. If we listened to them just 2 years ago on the literacy law, so much was scared. They scared parents and families, saying that 60% of our kids were going to be retained in third grade because of Tennessee's literacy law. You know why that's quieted? Because we're 2 years later, we're 8 points up in literacy in Tennessee, and less than 1% of students have been retained. Those projections were wrong, and what I'm here to say is all of the things that have been sold to the folks to scare them around the Opportunity Scholarship are just as wrong. Schools cannot lose revenue under this bill that's proposed. All it does is give parents control. And I'll be honest, everybody wants the money. Public schools want the money. The private schools want the money. Everybody's lobbying for the money. This bill's pretty simple. Who do you let make that decision? Parents. And I believe parents are capable, and I believe in parents. And some people don't believe in parents. And I can only say to the folks listening out there, I've sat in many meetings with our colleagues across the local community, and even had one school board member in this community say directly, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe parents are capable of making educational decisions for their children, to which my response was, please say that in your campaign next go around and see if you don't have an opponent. So there's the reality of what's happening. We are fighting in Tennessee the same kind of demons from the federal level that constantly fight any reform related to education. This is a bill that will affect less than 1% of students in the state of Tennessee. It's not going to remove money from the public coffers and how it's structured to fund. And it really is very simple, because I have a lot of lobbyists in my office asking me not to vote for this. And they're the School Board Association and the Teachers Union and the ACLU. But I'm trying to listen to the families that walk in my office and say, listen, I don't have a big, powerful lobby, but what I do is I have a kid who's stuck in a zip code. I have a kid who's really, really smart and could benefit from the private school over here. I have a kid that wants to go to a different public school, but we need help with transportation. Those are the conversations that matter the most. And so when I look at what we're trying to do at the state level, I keep that in mind. And I know the bill's not going to be perfect, but what I'm saying is I think we could have a perfect bill and we would have the same resistance, because there's always resistance to educational reform in the state of Tennessee.
All right. Senator Adam Lowe, we'll have to leave it there,
Yeah.
and I do appreciate you coming. And, hey, keep us updated on the session, if you will.
You got it. Special session starts on Monday. Again, we'll take up those 3 issues. Really watch the immigration discussions and debate. I am on Senate Education this year, so I will have an opportunity to kind of quiz the witnesses that come before us on the Opportunity Scholarship. And so to those who really want to get into the nitty-gritty and see who's doing what, tune into that. All of that's live streamed and transparent. This bill has been transparent since day one. It'll continue to be.
All right. Thank you, Senator. And this program reminder, we